Moving on now, the war rhetoric from Washington towards Iran is again being ramped up just ahead of the second round of high-level international talks on the country's nuclear program. US military top brass claim they would need just 3 weeks to defeat Iran's armed forces. RT's Gayane Chichakyan looks at whether it's just more tough talk or preparation for real action.
The Pentagon says they're just doing some contingency planning in case Iran attempts to close the Strait of Hormuz or attacks U.S. ships in the Persian Gulf. But analysts say it's the kind of planning that drives the tensions to a whole new level. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Iran is encircled militarily. Here is Iran, and here are the countries in red where the U.S. has military presence. We tried to put on the map those U.S. bases which have been reported about. They are in flashing blue here. Here you have the friendly Arab countries. Right next to Qatar, it's Bahrain, which hosts the U.S. Fifth Fleet. That's 40 ships, 16,000 personnel, 2 huge aircraft carriers. Kuwait, which right after the drawdown in Iraq, the U.S. There has increased the size of standby combat force. America's Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marines are boldly positioned in Oman and the United Arab Emirates. That's to the south of Iran, in Turkey and Israel to the west, and Afghanistan and Pakistan in the east. Most recently, the U.S. Air Force has dispatched a number of F-22 Raptor strike fighters to a base in the United Arab Emirates. And here it is, the brand new penetrating strike fighter. The move has caused backlash from Tehran. In addition to the hardware, the U.S. Central Command says there are about 125,000 U.S. troops in close proximity to Iran, not to mention new drone bases at undisclosed locations also in the region. U.S. officials say an enhanced presence in the Gulf is meant to serve as a, quote, quick reaction contingency force, not simply as a prelude to war. But the buildup seems to exacerbate the hostile talk, which may at one point turn into an all-out confrontation. The Iranian military is, of course, no match to the American military might. After all, we're talking about the country that spends on its military more than the next 10 top defense spending countries combined. So crushing Iran is in America's power, but most analysts agree. What's also in its power is producing the kind of instability in the region that would be far worse than what came out of Iraq and Afghanistan.
Just a recap from my last video, guys. The breaking of Seal 6, the sun turns black as sackcloth and the moon turns blood red. The stars fall from heaven. The next total solar eclipse we have is November 13th, 2012. Next blood moon is November 28th, a week later. That would fulfill that perfectly. Let's go all the way back up to the Revelation 3, the black horse, famine. That's an economy collapse. The red horse, war. They should take peace from the earth. He has a great sword. That's the breaking of Seal 2. That is the Psalms 83 war that is about to take place. Israel, U.S. versus Iran, Damascus. Panetta said that this war would take place, that Israel would strike Iran in April, May, or June. But it's not going to be just Israel. It's going to be U.S. striking Iran. The white horse, the breaking of Seal 1, the rise of the Antichrist. He goes forth to conquering and to conquer. He is the one that is bringing this sword of war. He's the one that's leading this. He has the great sword. The red horse, war. The Psalms 83 war. It's who's leading this war. Think about it. Who has their troops in every country? Who has all their aircraft carriers in the sea? Who has all their jet fighters out there next to Iran? That is the U.S. So whoever leads this war and brings the sword, who goes forth to conquering and to conquer, is the Antichrist. Think about it. Who is got all their military spread in the world? Guys, it's not that hard to figure out. The rise of the Antichrist is about to take place, but he is already here in front of your face. Whoever is leading this war and bringing the great sword, is the Antichrist. Guys, I included a picture here that I created. This is the cover of Newsweek, 2010 cover edition. Who is this? Obama. What does it say? God of all things, God of the world, God of war, God of money. I've included a news article here from Michelle Obama. This is dated on April 17th. This president has brought us out of the dark and into the light. On contrary, he's brought us in from the light into the darkness. Guys, he is the one that is going out to conquer and conquering. He's the one that's going to lead this war on Iran. He is the Antichrist, guys. You got to remember, the Antichrist doesn't rise up out of the ashes after the war. He's the one that brings the war. The first seal is the rise of the Antichrist. The second seal is the great sword, the red horse, war. He is the one that goes out to conquer. Obama is the Antichrist. No ands, ifs, or buts.